New COVID variants: EG5, FL1.5.1, and BA2.86 are spreading. Here's what to know. Health authorities say they're closely tracking the spread of 3 new COVID variants now spreading around the country. Levels of COVID-19 hospitalizations and deaths for now remain far below previous peaks seen during past summers and winter waves of the virus, but have been climbing steadily for several weeks and are predicted to accelerate. Public health officials have said that they are well equipped for the latest seasonal uptick in the virus, with COVID-19 tests and forthcoming vaccines expected to work for the variants on the rise around the country. But the appearance of the new highly mutated variant has raised questions among the virus trackers about what the coming months could hold. Here is the latest about what we know about the new COVID-19 variants now on the rise. Health authorities say they're closely tracking the spread of 3 new COVID-19 variants now spreading around the country. Levels of COVID-19 hospitalizations and deaths for now remain far below previous peaks seen during past summers and winter waves of the virus, but have been climbing steadily for several weeks and are predicted to accelerate. Public health officials have said that they're well equipped for the latest seasonal uptick in the virus, with COVID-19 tests and forthcoming vaccines expected to work for the variants on the rise around the country. But the appearance of a new highly mutated variant has raised questions among virus trackers about what the coming months could hold. Here's the latest on what we know about the new COVID-19 variants on the rise. Authorities have also been tracking a new highly mutated strain of the virus called BA2.86. That strain was nicknamed Pirola by user at JPWyland on social media. BA2.86's prevalence remains too small to show up on the CDC estimates and is currently being aggregated with its distant ancestor, BA.2. While only a small handful of cases have been spotted around the world, BA2.86 infections have now been confirmed in at least 4 states. The strain's large number of mutations at some key parts of the virus has accelerated investigations into the risk that BA2.86 might pose. Are symptoms for new COVID variants different? COVID symptoms appear to be largely the same. Since EG5 and FL151 emerged, officials have generally downplayed claims of dramatic changes in symptoms caused by those closely related new variants, compared to their close Omicron variant relatives from earlier in the pandemic. There has been no evidence of increased disease severity from the new EG5 strain, the WHO reported on August 9th. Experts say other changes in the population, like immunity from prior infections and vaccination, also muddies attempts to compare whether new variants are to blame for shifts in reported symptoms for the virus. In recent months, COVID-19 symptoms appear to have remained largely the same as they have for the past year, with cold and flu-like symptoms, cough, headache, muscle aches, runny nose, and fatigue reported most often. As for BA 2.86, officials say it's too early to say whether that strain will cause more severe illness because of its worrying sum of mutations. The sole case in Michigan was an older adult with mild symptoms, and the patient has not been hospitalized. Chelsea Wuth, a spokesperson from the Department of Health and Human Services, said in a statement to CBS News. In Denmark, health officials said their 3 BA 2.86 variant cases did not have symptoms other than those normally seen from COVID-19. The UK said its BA 2.86 case was tested at a London hospital, but it was currently not possible to assess comparative severity by the variant based on their data. Do COVID tests work for new COVID variants? They seem to work, although they may change if one of the strains becomes more prevalent. The Food and Drug Administration has so far not flagged any new issues with the EG5 and FL151 variants from its ongoing joint effort with the National Institutes of Health to study the performance of COVID-19 tests with new strains. One positive development modeling suggests the variant will not evade tests better than other previous Omicron strains. Now we have the genome mapped and all that information. We also have the epitopes mapped for all the antigen-based tests. We can do computational analytics to see whether or not we think there's going to be any impact on test performance. Todd Merchak, co-leader of the NIH's RADx Tech Initiative at the National Institute of Biomedical Imaging and Bioengineering. Merchak said the initiative's well-oiled machine has been preparing for manual experiments to validate whether home COVID tests are less likely to be sensitive to EG5 and other variants in the case the FDA decides to call for home COVID tests to be rechecked for the new strain. We use the same protocols, so we have comparisons across every test that's on the market. Every test that's in development, we can compare them against each other, so we have data for everything, said Merchak. Experts say it's possible BA 2.86's wide range and changes might change the performance of some tests if it grows more prevalent. UK authorities said it was unreliable to attempt to predict the combined effect of the large number of mutations from BA 2.86, but acknowledged there's enough information to expect significant antigenic change. Will the fall 2023 COVID vaccine boosters work for new COVID variants? They're expected to be effective. Vaccine makers say they expect the upcoming rollout of new COVID-19 vaccine and booster shots next month will work for EG5 and FL151 as well, since they are closely related to the XBB 1.5 variant targeted by the revised shots recommended by the FDA and WHO earlier this year. We try to select the antigen that will provide the maximum breadth of immunity so that the protection to people is as wide as possible. Anticipating that the virus may evolve between the time when the recommendation is issued and the time when the vaccine is produced, The WHO's Dr. Sylvie Braid told reporters on August 9th. On August 17th, Moderna said preliminary results from its human clinical trial data suggest its updated vaccines will trigger a significant boost in neutralizing antibodies against EG5 and FL151 variants. Pfizer says data from a recent study in mice suggests its vaccines will be effective as well. The CDC expects, based on evidence and input from the FDA Advisory Committee, that the fall updated vaccines with a monovalent XBB 1.5 composition will best protect public health. Kathleen Conley, a CDC person, said in a statement August 18th. It is unclear whether BA 2.86 could upend those plans. Experts say the strain's mutations might be enough to render the upcoming shots a fairly poor match if it circulates more widely. As a virologist, Paul Duprex told CBS News chief medical correspondent Dr. Jonathan LaPook on 60 Minutes in March 2021, changes in the virus's spike protein can allow it to evade antibodies and more easily infect someone. Duprex said the only way to stop a virus from mutating is to stop its spread. If we block a transmission, if we wear a mask, if we get vaccinated, if we do social distancing. So there's practical things we can do, he said. But physically, biologically, is there something we can do? Is there a magic bullet we can shoot at it that stops it making mutations? No. But for this reason, the FDA does not see a need to change up the COVID vaccine recipe, an official said. Another meeting of its outside vaccine advisors on the topic isn't planned until the preparation begins for next year's vaccination campaign. Barring the emergence of a markedly more viral variation causing COVID-19, the FDA anticipates revisiting the composition of the vaccine during the first half of 2024, the FDA official said in an August 16th email.